It's no secret that Pikmin 4 pretty much revolves around Oatchi. From the obstacles that appear in the game, to the enemies, to even moving around the overworld, Oatchi is used for pretty much everything. So, what if we took him away? Could we still beat the game? Could we 100% Pikmin 4 without Oatchi? Well, when I first started this journey, I thought the answer to that question was gonna be an easy yes. But boy, was I wrong. To even have a chance to beat this game without Oatchi, you have to pull off some of the most insane glitches I've ever seen in a Pikmin game. I'm Dan from Press A, and this is Can You 100% Pikmin 4 Without Oatchi? Guys, have you ever wanted to be a Pikmin and try to survive certain death? Well, you're in luck, because this is the Pikmin Hunger Games. By becoming a channel or Patreon member, you'll be given a Pikmin with your very own name. Your Pikmin will battle it out with others to try and survive the very worst that Pikmin 2 has to offer. If your Pikmin is the last one standing, you'll be put in the Pikmin Hall of Fame, where we'll design you a silly looking Pikmin that will show up beside your name at the end of all of our videos. Thank you, and may the Pikmin odds be ever in your favor. So, we start off Pikmin 4 playing as Olimar and his trusty dog Moss, who is not Oatchi by the way, so no, this doesn't count. We break some pots, knock down this metal gate, and kill the boss, which in turn brings us to the start of Pikmin 4's super amazing tutorial. Guys, I'm gonna rip the band-aid off right now. You can't beat Pikmin 4 without Oatchi. He's needed multiple times throughout this tutorial, and there's really no way around it. You need him to pull out this plant, dig up this cave, break down these pots, dig up the red onion, and knock down the Game Boy SP. Unfortunately, there is no known way to get past any of these things without Oatchi. It's just so early in the game that we literally have nothing else to work with. We don't even have Pikmin yet. But it's okay, because every good challenge runner knows that the tutorial doesn't count. So let's just forget about all of this and move on to day 1, where we'll try not to use Oatchi so much. So we start off day 1 by heading down into the game's first cave, the Last Frost Cavern, where we immediately encounter our first obstacle, these breakable pots. As you saw earlier, we normally need Oatchi to break through these things, but we can't do that, so we're kinda stuck. There is this bag that you're supposed to push down from the other side, but we can't really reach the back of it yet with our Pikmin that we currently have. We also don't even have the charging horn yet, which would allow us to charge our Pikmin, so we can't even try that. However, this does seem doable, we just don't have what we need quite yet, so we'll be back. In the meantime, let's collect some treasure so we can get some of that sweet, sweet Sparklium. If you didn't know, when you collect treasure in this game, you get a substance called Sparklium. We need 1500 of it to unlock the game's next level, the Blossoming Arcadia. Which may be a problem because we don't have Oatchi, but for right now, it isn't, because the Crackling Cauldron, the newest cave we just entered, is actually super easy without him. We're able to collect every treasure in the cave and rescue Russ, all without Oatchi's help. Which, trust me, is a big deal because Russ is going to be very important in this challenge. So once we leave the cave, we go around Sunspeckle Terrace collecting everything we can, which includes the yellow onion and every treasure we have access to. When it's all said and done, we have 1350 Sparklium to our name, which is a bit of a problem because we actually need 1500 to unlock the next level, and we've pretty much obtained every treasure we actually can. There are a couple things lying around, but we can't get to them without Oatchi. The baseball in the Hectic Hollows cave requires Oatchi's jump to get over this ledge. Same with the industrial maze and this strawberry. There is this pocket watch hanging on the wall near the Crackling Cauldron, but unfortunately, we need Oatchi's charge to actually get it. We are so close to our goal of 1500, but it seems like every treasure or cave we need is just out of our reach. Every one that is, except for the Aquaphorus Summit. But to actually reach it, we're gonna have to bend the rules a little bit. And by bend the rules, I mean kind of, sort of have to use Oatchi. But it's in the most passive way possible, I promise. Normally, to get to the Aquifer Summit, you have to jump up these 2 small ledges with Oatchi. But since we can't do that, we're gonna have to use another method. And this method involves Oatchi accidentally bumping us up the ledge. If we run against the first ledge and have Oatchi charge right behind us, he can bump into us and push us right up the ledge. Now that we're up here, we actually don't need Oatchi anymore and can run up the second ledge and enter the cave no problem. Now, I don't know if using Oatchi like this actually counts as using Oatchi. I'll leave that up to the Pikmin scholars to decide. Because right now, we just entered the Aquifer Summit, and we need to collect some treasure. Wait, that's it? That's all that's here? Yeah, the first floor of the Aquifer Summit only has a single treasure, and to make matters worse, it's only worth 40 Sparklium. And to make matters even worse, we can't get to sub-level 2. This ledge is too high to get up without Oatchi's jump. So yeah, we basically broke the rules just to get 40 Sparklium, which isn't gonna help us at all. Also, I didn't know this at the time, but doing this would have major repercussions for the rest of this run. So yeah, going to the Aquifer Summit ended up being a really bad idea. And at this point, I was panicking. I had just broken the rules of the challenge for basically no reason, and we were still stuck. Stuck on the first level of the game, and like an hour into the challenge. This was looking like it was gonna be one of the biggest failures in Press A history. But then, I realized I'm just stupid. We still have the first cave in the game to go back to. Remember this one with the bag that I wanted to try the charging horn on? Well, guess what? We have the charging horn now. We can go try it. Yeah, it still doesn't work. Even with the charging horn, the Pikmin still didn't want to latch onto the back of the bag. And in learning this, the panic started to come back. But this time, it was worse. It was all-consuming. Complete blackness that snuffed out any last hope I had of completing this challenge. I couldn't do it. There was nowhere left to go. Every treasure still left required Oatchi. I couldn't beat the game without that stupid dog. But then, all of a sudden, a name appeared piercing through the darkness. A name that had helped out Press A once before. And now, when we needed her most, she came back. The name simply read Patricia. Yeah, if you have no idea what's going on, let me drop a little Press A lore for you. Back when Ty made this video where he beat Pikmin 4 with only 20 red Pikmin, he had to use Pikmin 4's co-op mode quite a bit, which happens to be this little reticule here called the Pebble Pincher, which allows you to throw items around Pikmin 4's world. Now, for some reason, Ty just decided to call her Patricia. No idea why, but I guess it's canon now. This old girl's named Patricia, and we're gonna make a good use out of her. But before we do, I should probably explain exactly how she works. By entering Pikmin 4's co-op mode, you can gain access to this little reticule here, which allows you to shoot pebbles at enemies. But as you play through the game, you'll obtain other items for Patricia to throw, like Scrummy Bones for Oatchi, Pick Carrots, and even Bomb Rocks. But the one we're most interested in is the Nectar. Because if we throw our Pikmin up on this bag, then use Patricia to throw some nectar right behind it, the Pikmin will run over to the nectar to drink it, and as soon as they're done, they'll be placed right behind the bag and push it down for us. The only problem is, there's really only one treasure up here, and it's only worth 80 Sparklium, which still leaves us 22 Sparklium short of our goal of 1500. And with no treasures left remaining, it looks like the odds of us beating this challenge has finally dropped to 0. Nah, I'm lying. I was actually just being stupid again. Because there is one more treasure we can get. This potato buried underground. The reason I completely forgot about it is because it doesn't show up on the map. You need the treasure gauge to actually sniff out where it is, which is an item you get a little bit later in the game. But yeah, the potato is worth 60 Sparklium, which actually gets us over the 1500 we need to unlock the game's next level. What's even better is if we collected just 1 or 2 more enemy bodies, which also give you Sparklium by the way, we could get to 1540 Sparklium. Now, why is 1540 Sparklium important? Well, remember that treasure we collected in the Aquifer Summit? The cave that we had to bend the rules to reach? Well, that treasure was worth 40 Sparklium. So, if we never collected it, we would still have just enough to unlock the second level. Which means the challenge is still possible, and we don't need this stupid dog. Whoa! But yeah, now that we've unlocked the game's second level, we can head there and start collecting some more treasure. Which is exactly what I do. We pick up a bunch of treasures and then head down into the secluded courtyard, which we 100% all without Oatchi's help. So after some more treasure hunting, we come across our first Dandori battle. I won't be talking about these a ton in this video, mostly because they're really easy. But I just wanted to make sure that every one of them was completable without Oatchi, and yeah, they are. Turns out Olimar is really bad. So after a battle with Olimar, we headed to the Drafty Gallery. And it was in this cave that the yellow Pikmin showed they were going to be complete stars in this challenge. If you didn't know, yellow Pikmin can be thrown higher than any other Pikmin type, which really comes in handy when you can't jump up to higher places. Like here for example, you're supposed to jump on this higher ledge, throw Pikmin on this metal plate to bring it down, then grab the treasure. But we can just use the yellow Pikmin's higher throw height to get the treasure without doing any of that. Using the yellow Pikmin, we're able to 100% the Drafty Gallery, once again without Oatchi's help, which actually allows us to get 4,000 Sparklium and unlock the game's third level, the Serene Shores. But before we head there, we're gonna head back to the Sun-Speckled Terrace. And I know what you're thinking, why would we head back there? You literally just said there is no other treasure obtainable in that level. Well, that's true, at least it was true at the time. But now that we've unlocked the Serene Shores, we now have access to a new item that Russ the Scientist sells. The Mine. And this little mine is about to break this game wide open. Let me introduce you to a little trick called the Mine Jump. If you walk against a small ledge like this and throw a mine right where your character is standing, the mine will spawn underneath them and push them up over the ledge, which allows us to access areas that Oatchi is normally supposed to jump to. So remember how the industrial maze and the strawberry were off limits to us before? Well, now we can just use a mine and jump up there ourselves. Now, the industrial maze is kind of a tricky cave. The first floor, for example, has Oatchi and our captain getting split up. You're supposed to use Oatchi to activate these switches so the captain can navigate through the conveyors, but we can just use Patricia instead. Because Patricia has a dirty little secret. She can be used with the survey drone. If you didn't know, the survey drone is an item you can buy which allows you to view Pikmin 4's world from a bird's eye view. Not super useful by itself, but when combined with Patricia, it becomes a game changer. As you can see, we can fly over to the switch with the survey drone and then use Patricia to throw a pick carrot on the switch to activate it, which now allows us to navigate the entire floor all without this silly little dog. We also learned something else on this floor though. Remember those pots we couldn't break without Oatchi's charge? Well, it turns out we can break them. We just need some help from a couple of bomb rocks, which again is an item we can now buy from Russ the Scientist. On the next floor, we have to use the mine jump twice to get up on these two ledges and use a couple more bomb rods to break open some pots. But other than that, we complete the cave relatively easily, 100%ing it in the process. As soon as we leave the cave, we use another mine jump to get up on this ledge, then get the baseball and enter the Hectic Hollows. In the Hectic Hollows, we use another mine jump to get up on this high ground here, then use Yellow Pikmin's higher throw height to get this treasure and get the castaway who you're normally supposed to knock down with Oatchi. It was looking a little sketchy at first, but I was barely able to get 3 yellows up here and bring it down. At the end of the cave, there's this high ledge here and breakable pots blocking our exit, but unlike in Pikmin 2, you don't actually have to leave the cave through the exit to bring all the treasure with you. So I just paused the game, selected return to surface, and we left with all of the treasure. After that, we quickly headed back to the first cave of the game and quickly broke down these pots with our newly found bomb rots to finish the cave 100%. Which means we actually have 4 out of the 5 caves in the Sun-Speckled Terrace completely finished already. The only one we have remaining is the Aquifer Summit. You know, The cave I said we made the huge mistake in? Well, it turns out it was a pretty big mistake. Because this ledge here that is protecting the entrance to the next floor is too big to mine jump up. The way you're supposed to get up here without Oatchi is by getting your Pikmin to bring this treasure as close to the edge as possible, and then once it falls off, run up it with your captain. A treasure we didn't even need to reach that 1500 Sparklium from earlier. So yeah, we can no longer technically 100% Pikmin 4 without Oatchi, but just know that getting up this ledge is possible without him. The rest of the cave is possible as well. The only thing of interest we really did was use Patricia once again to hit a switch normally required for Oatchi. Other than that, it was business as usual and we 100% in the cave. Quickly after exiting, we fell down to this lower level here and used another mine jump to grab this dragon fruit, which was pretty much the last thing we could do in the Sun-Speckled Terrace. The only treasure left was this pocket watch hanging on the wall that we still couldn't get. There was this Dandori challenge we could do. The only problem was the ledge leading up to it was too high to jump up with a mine. Jumping up there with Oatchi is easy, but obviously we can't do that. So I left the Sun-Speckled Terrace at 84% completion, hoping to come back if we found some way to get those other treasures. But for now, let's head back to the Blossoming Arcadia. In the Blossoming Arcadia, we collected some more treasures and completed 2 more Dandori challenges, all without Oatchi. In the one Dandori challenge, we did have to get a little creative and throw our Pikmin over this wall so they can knock down the rope so we can access the treasures up here. You're normally supposed to hop up these steps, but doing this saves us from any Oatchi uses. Also, in the other Dandori challenge, there was this switch here that you're supposed to hit with Oatchi, but we just used Patricia instead. After finishing the challenges, we looked to enter the Kingdom of Beasts. The only problem is, we needed Oatchi to charge these flowers so they would bloom, creating a bridge over to the cave. Which we obviously can't do, but it turns out using a bomb rock works just as well. But again, the Kingdom of Beasts was another cave that was pretty uneventful. We used Patricia once again to hit another button meant for Oatchi, and we even one-shotted the Emperor Bulblats without him as well. A cave that was eventful though was the Sightless Passage. It had this castaway on a super high ledge you're normally supposed to use Oatchi to knock down. But once again, we were just barely able to get enough yellows up there and get him without Oatchi. The one that really had me stumped though was this treasure up here. It was guarded by 2 high ledges that were too high to jump up and behind this wall so we couldn't throw yellows directly on it. You're supposed to use Oatchi to go through these tunnels and grab the part, but unfortunately the captain can't enter these tunnels, so we're out of luck. I tried throwing some yellows on the second ledge, but no matter where I threw from, I just couldn't reach it. Eventually, I got fed up and just started randomly chucking Pikmin, and somehow, in my rage, I was able to get a Pikmin on the second ledge. I don't know why, but it seemed like when I was strafing and throwing, I was throwing further for some reason. Or maybe the angle just worked out differently, I'm not sure. But either way, I did it one more time and was able to get enough Pikmin up there to grab the treasure. After the Sightless Passage was completed, we finished off the day by collecting some more treasure, and then finally headed off to the Serene Shores. In the Serene Shores, we collected some more treasure, beat some bosses, whooped Olimar's ass in a Dandori battle once again, and then headed down to the Seafloor Resort, where on floor 3, we busted out some brand new tech. Now, this treasure here is protected by 2 ledges, which, mind you, we could just mine jump up, but mine jumping is kind of annoying. So instead, we're gonna just use the freeze bomb. Now, we haven't really talked about freeze bombs yet, but basically, they just turn things into ice, including bodies of water. Where things get interesting though, is when we use an ice bomb when our character is underwater. For some reason, instead of just keeping you frozen in place, the game teleports you to the surface. So, if we use this in the water that's near the treasure, we can get teleported to the surface of the ice, which gives us more than enough height to throw our Pikmin over this wall. Getting the rest of the treasures in this cave is fairly easy, but surprisingly, what's not easy is the boss. Without Oatchi, this frog is actually kind of a pain in the ass. Mostly because you can't just stun him and kill him instantly. So he actually gets a chance to attack. And when he attacks, it can be pretty devastating. Something else that's really hard without Oatchi is the Engulfed Castle. Now, if you didn't know, the gimmick of this cave is that the Water Wraith will drop down and try to kill your Pikmin after 5 minutes on every floor. The first time I played this game casually, I finished every floor so quickly, I never even saw the Water Wraith once. But guess what? Without Oatchi, I saw him on every single floor. Everything just takes so much longer without this stupid dog that he would drop pretty much no matter what. To make things worse, there was no real way of dodging him when he did drop. In Pikmin 2, you can use the C-Stick, and normally in Pikmin 4, you can hop on Oatchi and just dodge him that way. But I couldn't do either of those, so I just had to run most of the time, which really slowed things down. Thankfully, the boss fight itself wasn't very hard. But yeah, that cave was a pain in the ass. Oh, I forgot to mention too that there's a switch we had to hit with Patricia that you normally need Oatchi for. All it does is nab you this castaway, but still, it's important for 100%. Shortly after exiting the cave, we found ourselves in another Dandori challenge. This one was a bit weird because we couldn't actually collect all the treasures in it, mainly because of these ones on the high ledges. They are technically possible to get, but it just took so long to actually get Pikmin up there that I would just run out of time before I could collect them all. But the nice thing about these challenges is that you don't actually need to collect everything to beat them. As long as you get the bronze medal, the game considers the challenge completed. So that's what I did, and we walked away, completing the challenge and nabbing ourselves a castaway. Next, we basically walked around the Serene Shores, collecting some more treasure, and I used the frozen bomb technique from earlier to get myself the banana without having to use Oatchi to jump on these coral steps. After that, we finished another Dandori challenge, then entered the Sub-Zero Sauna. Now, the Sub-Zero Sauna was pretty easy, except for one major obstacle. This super high ledge leading to the next floor. The problem with this ledge, aside from being super high, is that there's really nothing else here. There's no alternative route, there's no treasure that could help us get up, it's just the ledge. And yes, I tried to use the mines to jump up to it. I tried for over an hour, and I even got really close a couple times. But no matter how close I got, I could never actually get over it. It seemed like we had just met our first impossible obstacle in the Oatchiless challenge. Except, not really, I'm just bad. As you can see here, Oatchi gets up on the ledge no problem. It's completely possible, I'm just ass, I guess. But even after learning it was possible, I still couldn't do it. I don't know what I was doing wrong, but I just couldn't get over this ledge. But honestly, who cares if I can do it? We know that it's possible now. We know the Oatchiless dream is still alive. So, with that knowledge, we finished off the rest of the cave and immediately headed to the below grade discotheque. The first floor of the discotheque was more of the same. We used a mine jump to get this candle, and then used one to get to the next floor. Once we got to the next floor, I was a bit worried about these fans because I thought we needed Oatchi to jump into them and actually use them. But no, it turns out the captain can jump himself. He just prefers not to, I guess. On the next floor, we used Patricia once again to hit a switch meant for Oatchi, which allowed us to grab some more treasure. Then we came across something truly devastating. A gap wider than the Grand Canyon. And of course, this once again leads to the next floor. What you're normally supposed to do is jump across the gap with Oatchi. But we of course can't do that. We can't really do anything. While mines give us pretty good vertical distance, they give us almost zero horizontal distance. So there'll be no help here. I did try using bomb rods to see if they would blow me across the gap, but it was just never enough. What made it even more annoying was the fact that to even try getting across the gap, I had to mine jump up on this small ledge. And since it was so small, it was very easy to just run off the other side and fall down. So yeah, after trying for a bit, I gave up. It was just too far and we didn't have enough distance. Maybe we'll unlock something later in the game that will help us with this, but for right now, the last floor of the discotheque is inaccessible without Oatchi. So after leaving the cave, we did a couple night missions to get some sap to cure Bernard of his leafling affliction, which now unlocks the game's 4th world, the Hero's Hideaway. And after immediately entering the Hero's Hideaway, we were greeted with another treasure that's meant to be knocked down by Oatchi. Just like the pocket watch in the Sunspeckled Terrace, we still don't have a way of knocking these things down. I did try bomb rods, but unfortunately they do nothing, which isn't great because that card that's pinned to the wall has a number on it that's a part of a 3-digit code that opens the safe to save Olimar. Without that code, we're pretty much screwed. Luckily though, there's 2 other cards that give us the 2 other digits, so if we're able to collect those, we should be fine. But yeah, we ran around the Hero's Hideaway collecting some more treasure, then entered the Doppelganger's Den, used a mind jump to get up on this ledge, and used Patricia to hit this switch so we could grab this controller. But then we came across these grapes, which caused me some more issues. What you're normally supposed to do is jump on this moving platform with Oatchi, then as it goes under the other one, jump on that, then jump off and grab the grapes. Now, obviously, this is a problem for us because we're a little vertically challenged, but I did try and use a mind jump to get over the other platform. It was just really hard. After trying for a bit, I realized I was just stupid and could come back here with winged Pikmin and skip doing all of this. So yeah, we'll have to leave this one for now, but either way, the rest of the cave was no problem. There was a couple of pots we needed bomb rods for, but that's about it. Shortly after leaving the cave, we rode this rail down to collect our first card, and then used Patricia to hit the switch, which turned on the fan, allowing us to get to another Dandori challenge. Which again, was really easy, and right after leaving, we found our second card, which now gives us 2 out of the 3 digits for the safe, which means we should be able to guess the last one when we actually go to open it. But yeah, after that was done, we came across another really annoying obstacle. This floating platform that brings you to the top of this desk. The reason we need to get up here is because of this treasure and this cave. But as you can see, you need to jump on these 3 platforms with Oatchi to actually get up there. Getting up there with just the captain is just not gonna happen. Look at how far apart these things are spaced. Mind jumping is not gonna work here. I was really thinking this was gonna be off limits to us, but then I realized, oh hey, we can just go through this tunnel and fall down onto the platform from above, completely skipping the jumping section and bringing us right to the top of the desk, where we collected the treasure and entered the Plunder Palace. Now, the Plunder Palace was full of annoying obstacles for us to overcome. First, there was this treasure that was too high for yellows to reach. So we had to perform a mind jump to give us the extra height we needed so we could grab the part. Then, right after, there was another treasure that was too high to reach. But this time, instead of only doing 1 mind jump to reach it, we had to do 3. We had to do it all the way up these stairs. Now, mind jumping isn't super hard, but it's not easy either, and doing it 3 times in a row is super not easy. But after a couple times, I was able to do all 3 and grab ourselves the treasure. Finally, we had some more stairs that we had to mind jump up. It might look easier because we only had to do 2 jumps, but you actually have to do them twice. You need to do it once, then take the fan to get this treasure, then a second time to actually leave the floor. So yeah, that was super awesome. But aside from these rather annoying speed bumps, we were able to 100% the cave quite easily. After that was over, we made our way to the Frozen Inferno. And the Frozen Inferno was super easy and chill. The only obstacle we faced was having to do a mind jump over this ledge and use yellow Pikmin to get this waffle down instead of knocking it down with Oatchi. But other than that, the cave was super easy and we flew through it. After leaving the cave, we collected the ice onion, and then went on to tackle something I had been avoiding this entire level. The big ass table and this floating platform. Both are major problems, but let's look at the big ass table first. If you remember back to the start of the video, The way you're supposed to get up here is by knocking down this gate with Oatchi and then use it as a ramp. But since we can't do that, we really have no way up there. To make things worse, this floating platform circles around the table, and you're supposed to use it to get multiple treasures along the way. We were able to collect this calculator treasure on the couch by just throwing our Pikmin on the platform, and they were somehow smart enough to grab it themselves. But we still need to get the origami treasure hanging from the lamp and actually get on the table itself. So we're gonna have to find a way on that platform. The way you're supposed to do it is by falling down onto this bag, then jumping onto it with Oatchi. Now, falling onto this bag is no problem, but jumping onto the floating platform is an issue. Like I mentioned before, mine jumping doesn't give us horizontal distance. But do you know what does? Getting blown up by a fucking bomb. If we stand on the edge of this bag, then throw a bomb right as the platform is flying by, we can get blown up and shot right onto the platform. Now, this is much easier said than done and took me way longer than I want to admit to actually do it. You can see here, when I actually pulled it off, I accidentally whistled my Pikmin, killing some of them and causing most of them to fall off the platform. Luckily, I did have enough to grab the gold pieces on the couch and the origami treasure. Also, I must know I'm an idiot because earlier I walked up around the steel gate and threw some yellow Pikmin up here just in case something like this happened. So, with my 7 rock Pikmin and my yellow reserves, I was able to kill the cannon beetle and grab the treasure, all without Oatchi's help. With those treasures now collected, we grabbed nearly everything we could in the hero's hideaway. With pretty much nothing left to do, we headed to the safe to unlock it and save Olimar. Since we collected 2 out of the 3 cards, all we had to do was input the 2 numbers we knew and then cycle through the last one until we got it. We then put the smackdown on Olimar once again, and then proceeded to do a couple night missions to cure him of his disease, ending off the base game of Pikmin 4 in 16 hours and 12 minutes. To show you how slow that is, I 100% in the game in this video here in only 13 hours. We still have 2 more levels to go and some cleanup to do in the other levels. So yeah, this is not going to be quick. Speaking of 2 more levels, we land in one of the levels, the Giant's Hearth, on day 27, where we quickly did 2 more Dandori challenges and entered the single floor cave, the Dream Home. Despite only being 1 floor, the Dream Home was pretty annoying. There was a section here where you're supposed to jump on these bouncy mushrooms with Oatchi, but since we can't do that, we had to use a bomb to blast us on these mushrooms instead. But that wasn't the annoying part. This boss was the annoying part. This is the first enemy we come across that we need Oatchi to kill. At least, I thought we did. But once again, bomb rots come to our rescue. If you bomb this guy once, he'll turn over on his side. Do it again, and he'll be fully vulnerable to your attacks. The problem was, he would always knock away the bombs with his trunk, and sometimes he would even knock them back into my Pikmin. Eventually, I learned to bait out this attack first and then throw the bombs, but it did cause me to restart a couple times. Eventually though, I was able to kill him and rescue the castaway. Unfortunately though, right behind him was another treasure we needed to knock down, and just like in the hero's hideaway, it contained a part of a code to open a safe. Luckily, just like in the hero's hideaway, we were able to get the other 2 cards and guess the code without it. But we still couldn't get the treasure, so we couldn't 100% the cave. After our romp through the Dream Home, we plowed straight through the Sovereign Brawlblats because even without Oatchi, he's still a bitch. This netted us the Rock Onion, which we quickly grabbed and headed into the Cradle of Beasts. Now, the Cradle of Beasts was pretty uneventful except for this one horrible part. On the first floor, you need to grab one of these fiery pine cones, jump up on this ledge, and then set these hay bales ablaze to make it to the next floor. The problem is that we can't jump. So we have to throw the fiery pine cone up on the ledge, then quickly mine jump up ourselves before the timer for the pine cone runs out. But it gets even more annoying, because when you throw the pine cone up on the ledge, the Pikmin will drop it and come running back to you, which is a problem because we need a Pikmin to actually use the Pinecone in the first place. I tried throwing other Pikmin up there so I could use them once I got up myself, but the same thing would happen. They would just run straight back to me. Honestly, I couldn't believe that something so stupid was stopping me from exploring the rest of the cave. I thought our hopes of finishing this cave were over. That was until I experienced the magic of motion controls. By turning on the motion controls option in the settings, you can use gyro aiming to throw your Pikmin, which for some reason allows you to throw them a little bit further than normal. And it turns out, a little bit further is all we needed. When I threw them up there with the gyro aiming, they were far enough away that they didn't come running back. So all I had to do was to throw the Pinecone up there, throw some Pikmin, then mine jump up and quickly burn the hay bales. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it was still pretty annoying. Thankfully though, the rest of the cave was a cakewalk. We collected every treasure and killed the Empress Bulblats, no problem. Next, we performed a simple mine jump so we could face off with Louie in a hot sandy duel. And let me tell you, this duel was hot and sandy. We actually almost lost. Him starting off with 15 Pikmin and being able to use moss was a huge advantage. Thankfully, we were able to overcome it, but this does not bode well for future Dandori battles. Next, we tackled something I thought was gonna be really hard, but actually turned out being not that bad. The big ass hearth in the middle of the level. I thought we were definitely gonna need Oatchi to get up here, but no, we could just climb up this wall. We did have to use a mine jump to get past this pot, which you're normally supposed to use Oatchi and climb up these stairs to do. Once we were past it though, we could throw our Pikmin down to the sword treasure below and complete another Dandori challenge, rendering Oatchi completely useless. After that, we entered the ultimate testing range, where we did some more mine jumps, lost a couple of Pikmin to some bullets, and took down the man at legs. 100% in the cave with no issue. Oh, and after that, we quickly headed back to the Hero's Hideaway and grabbed those grapes that we left behind earlier in the run. Now it's time to head to the game's last level, the Primordial Thicket, which has caves like the Mud Pit, which thankfully is one of the few caves that doesn't require Oatchi at all. So we blew through it collecting every treasure. Next, we did 2 more Dandori challenges, both of which were pretty easy with Patricia's help. Shortly after, we used 2 mine jumps to get up on this rock, and then charged Winged Pikmin to grab this avocado. And I hope you're not tired of mine jumps yet, because we need to do 3 more to get the Winged Onion. After we obtained it though, I dropped back down with my eyes set on this cat doll. The only problem was, we needed 80 Ice Pikmin to get it, and I didn't have that many Ice Pikmin. But thankfully, with some motion control cheese, I was able to get some Wind Pikmin over there and grab the part without having to freeze the mud. Almost immediately after that, I tackled the Cliffhanger's Hold, which had this upper section with a ton of treasures you need Oatchi for. I'm almost positive you could get up there by throwing some yellows up and whistling them over by the string, and then throwing some nectar with Patricia. But I was never actually able to find out because by just collecting the treasures on the bottom floor, you're able to get the bronze medal and complete the challenge. Now it was time to round up one of the last caves in the Primordial Thicket, the Subterranean Swarm. And honestly, the Subterranean Swarm was nothing special. There was this really annoying part where you're supposed to jump on these stumps with Oatchi to avoid the boulders, but since we couldn't do that, I had to throw my Pikmin on there instead, and it definitely led to some deaths. But yeah, we defeated the Bulblats and finished off the cave 100%. Now, the last thing we had to do in the level was to get the gold bar, which requires 1,000 Pikmin to carry, which means we need 100 purples. Thankfully, getting 100 purples in Pikmin 4 is way easier than in Pikmin 2. All you have to do is head down to the first floor of the Subterranean Swarm, get 10 purples using the 2 candy pop buds, then rinse and repeat. Since I already had 34, I only had to do it 7 times, which only took me about 15 minutes. Once I was done, we only had one more thing to do, which was head to the final cave and beat the last boss. But before I did that, I headed back to the Sunspeckle Terrace to do some cleanup. There was a couple treasures that were locked away inside breakable pots that I had forgotten to grab our first time through. And as I grabbed the second one, something dawned on me. we hadn't done the Standori challenge yet. I had completely forgotten about it, which is a pretty major problem because we can't get up there. I tried mine jumping and it didn't work. The ledge didn't seem as high as the one in the Sub-Zero sauna, but the way it was angled seemed to be messing with the mine jump, because no matter what I tried, it didn't work. Remember, mine jumps are our best way of gaining vertical height. Rock bombs can give us horizontal distance, but they're not going to help us out here. So the dream of 100%ing Pikmin 4 without Oatchi officially dies here. Guys, it's over. So, with my head hung low, I headed back to the game's final level to take on Cavern for a King, and finish off this challenge once and for all. Wait, where is the cave? What the fuck? I had completely forgotten about the last battle with Louie. And look at this! How are we supposed to get up there? Look at the gap between these flowers, it's huge! And never mind that, I can't even get onto the first one! Forget about beating this game 100%, we can't even beat it at all! This is over! The challenge is done! So, over the next couple days, I did some digging. I refused to believe this game was unbeatable without Oatchi. But for some reason, it seemed like no one had attempted this challenge. There were a couple, but none of them actually beat the final boss. They all just rescued Olimar and called it a day. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do. That was until I headed to the Pikmin speedrunning Discord and found out about a feature I had no idea about. A little feature called Threads. By clicking on a channel and going to this icon here, you can see every thread associated with that channel, which is basically just like a channel within a channel. Now, you're probably thinking, why are you explaining Discord to me, and how is this relevant to the challenge? Well, when I went to the challenges channel of the Discord and clicked on Threads, I saw it. I saw the answer to my prayers. Pikmin 4 Oatchiless. And when I opened up the thread, I saw things in there I honestly couldn't believe. They had answered all of my questions. Everything was doable. You can get to the Dandori challenge in the Sunspeckled Terrace by using a bomb rock. You can get across the gap in the discotheque by using a mine and a bomb jump at the same time. And finally, you can do whatever the fuck is going on here to get across the gap and fight Louie, thus unlocking the final boss. So, that's what I did. I went back to the Sunspeckled Terrace and used a bomb to get up on the ledge and complete the Dandori challenge. And this trick is actually way harder than it looks. It seems like it's pretty automatic, but it's actually really precise and took me over 30 minutes to do. Oh, and the Dandori challenge is actually a pain in the ass without Oatchi. I think it was the only one in the challenge that I actually failed. But thankfully, after a couple of tries, I was able to get the bronze and move on. Next, I headed back to the discotheque to try out that insane mine/bomb rock jump. And if you think the last trick was precise, this one was even worse. It was so precise, in fact, that I couldn't even do it. I tried for over an hour, and this is probably the closest I got. The main problem with it, despite the fact that it's just really hard, was how long it took to get another attempt. Every time I failed it, I would fall down and have to run all the way back around, then perform a mine jump to even get up there. Which, if you remember from earlier, is not easy to do. All of this just to get a single attempt at it. And even if you're able to get the attempt, it's not like the trick is easy. you have to first throw a bomb rock, then pop yourself up with a mine the exact moment it goes off. It's insanely hard, and for whatever reason, I just couldn't get it. But who cares if I could get it or not? All that matters is that it's possible, and so is the rest of the cave. You can 100% the entirety of the discotheque without Oatchi, and that's awesome. Speaking of tricks I couldn't do, this one with the dog bowl is a complete disaster. Just like with the trick in the Aquifer Summit, I collected a treasure too early and completely ruined my chances of ever doing this trick. You need two things to do this trick: this dog bowl and this fish. I actually hadn't collected the dog bowl yet, but I did collect the fish, which apparently you need to get the dog bowl stuck like this. I tried using this grub chucker because it was one of the few enemies I hadn't collected yet, but it didn't seem to work. The bowl seemed close sometimes, but it just never got the height it needed. The fish is low enough that the bowl can sit on top of it, which allows you to lift it up and get the bowl higher. But the grub chuckers are too tall for the bowl to sit on top of, so it just kind of pushes them out of the way. But after a few tries, something weird happened. The grub chucker got on top of the bowl, and then got stuck on the flower. Yeah, the grub chucker is just way too uneven to get across. I tried multiple times, but there was just no way I was getting across this thing. Again though, who cares if I could do it? It's just so cool that this can even be done in the first place. Like seriously, can we just take a second to appreciate the players in this thread that came up with this insane method to even do this? Seriously, who thinks of this? When I first saw it, it honestly blew my mind. This type of shit is why I love making these videos. Finding incredibly creative solutions to impossible problems. That's what challenge running is all about. But yeah, we now know that getting to Louis is possible, and so is beating him. Even though he starts off with 20 Pikmin and an insanely buffed up Moss, we're still able to take him down. He did beat us the first time, but we're just not going to talk about that. So now that Louis is beaten though, the Cavern Fur King finally spawned, and we can head into the cave, ready to take on Pikmin 4's final challenge. Which honestly was a little anticlimactic. There were no super hard tricks, no crazy glitches. I don't even think I used a single mine jump. The cave is just basically a boss rush, and every boss in the cave can be defeated without Oatchi. The man at Lades was a little sketchy because there's nowhere to hide in his arena and you cannot run his gunfire without Oatchi. But then I realized I could just hide behind this wall and he'd never be able to shoot me. BD Lawn Lades was also kind of annoying, mainly because I didn't have enough Icy Boys to actually freeze the water. So I had to come over here in the mud and try and attack him, which didn't work out too well. Eventually though, I was able to wait for him to drop down, then stun him using Patricia's lightning attack, and then finish him off with purple Pikmin. The Empress Ball Blast was also a pain, but I was able to take her out in the exact same way. But do you want to know who the biggest pain in the ass was? The Ancient Sire Hound. This guy was 100% meant to be fought with Oatchi. Like, some of his moves are almost impossible to avoid without him. This charge he does in his lightning form is so hard to avoid, and probably cost me like 30 or 40 Pikmin. And don't even get me started on his last form. You know the form where he shoots out the rays of death? Yeah, they basically come out so fast that they're pretty much impossible to dodge, unless he just misses. Oh yeah, and trying to make it through this minefield without his C-stick is a kind of hell I would not wish on my worst enemy. Eventually though, after like 10 resets, I was able to take him down and finally finish Pikmin 4. Now, if you're attentive, you're probably thinking, what about all those treasures that were stuck on walls? Are we able to get those? Well, it turns out those are the only treasures in the game we're unable to get without Oatchi. Unfortunately, there is no known way to get these treasures without Oatchi's charge. Bomb rots don't work, purple Pikmin don't work, and winged Pikmin don't work. It's almost like they are hard-coded to only release when Oatchi charges the wall. Which is really frustrating, but it is what it is. In the end, 3 levels are able to be 100%ed without Oatchi: the Blossoming Arcadia, Serene Shores, and Primordial Thicket. The Sunspeckled Terrace was left at 99%, with only the Pocket Watch needing to be collected. The Hero's Hideaway was left at 98%, with only the Dart, Card, and Pin needing collecting. And finally, the Giant's Hearth got to 98% as well, with only the Dart and the Pin located in the Dream Home left over. So essentially, you can 100% Pikmin 4's story while only using Oatchi 3 times. And if you count the 5 times we used him in the tutorial, it still only brings that number up to 8, which is absolutely insane. But yeah guys, that's Pikmin 4 without Oatchi. I really hope you enjoyed this one, and I will catch you in the next one. This video was made possible through the support of our amazing patrons. I want to give a special shout out to Rebecca Lyons, Lay Burb, Puddles Megan, Liam Helt, Nice Gamer Musics, Serena Bliss, TXCS_14, and KoiKoi13.